Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook video on Tuesday the 1st of May. There's a general trend of building pressure across the country as we head towards the May Day weekend, which will tend to settle things down somewhat, although it will draw in a fair amount of moisture with southwesterly winds pulling low cloud onto many western mountains. Temperatures tending to lift above freezing overall on most tops, but still extensive snowpack in the Scottish Highlands in particular. Let's have a look at temperatures first of all. This chart representing the higher mountains in Scotland. We're at about 4,000 feet or just above on this map. And through Wednesday, as a cold front passes eastwards, we're still in chilly air with temperatures around or just below freezing on those higher tops. Temperatures, though, will start to lift as we go through into Thursday. Milder air coming in from the Atlantic, lifting through the day, and you may well end up a degree or so above freezing even on the highest tops. Lifting temperatures a degree or so further into Friday. Across the Lakeland Fells, we might be up to 5-6 degrees, perhaps even a touch higher if you're out of cloud. Where you're in the cloud, though, it will tend to hold the temperatures down to some extent. Through into the weekend then, and I think overall staying above freezing point, it might be that we just lift the temperatures a bit as we start to draw in a slightly more south-southwesterly air mass by this stage. So overall, not as cold as it will have been in recent days. Nothing too special, I don't think, across Scotland. You might only be a few degrees above freezing on those very highest tops. Here's the weather maps for the next few days, and Wednesday sees a frontal system passing eastwards. That'll bring some heavy overnight rain, most of that on the way out across Wales and the Lake District by first thing. Some rain lingering maybe across the Peak District and Pennines for a while in the morning. Heavy showers will follow in from the west, those with some hail and some thunder locally in western Scotland. I think cloud bases tend to lift through the day, but will drop again where showers do come in. Fewer showers, I think, for Wales and northern England in the afternoon, but one or two will still be around. Into Thursday, pressure is trying to build. There's a few residual showers shown on this chart, more for central southeast England, but across many mountains it looks a dry and a bright day. The air is fairly fresh. We've got a warm front extending in later from the Atlantic, which may just bring lowering cloud later and perhaps some spits and spots onto western Scotland by the end of the day. But overall, it's a reasonable day. The wind speeds are southwesterlies, maybe up to 30 miles per hour later as that southwesterly comes in from the Atlantic. Staying breezy across the higher tops in Scotland, although elsewhere winds are fairly light with high pressure in charge. Essentially a dry day, but a more humid atmosphere for many with that warm sector broadly across western and northern Britain. So lots more low cloud, I think, coming in to all western regions, really, all the way up from Wales to the Lake District, Dumfries and Galloway and western Scotland, where here there may be a few spits and spots of rain around. It shouldn't amount to too much, but across the western mountains, the West Highlands up to about Skye, maybe Torridon, it might just be a rather damp and murky day with fog from quite low levels up. Across the Cairngorms, though, higher cloud bases with that south-southwesterly flow, some breaks possible to higher tops and generally dry. Broadly dry as well across England and Wales, but just those murky western slopes for much of the day. And it may be a theme that those western mountains hang on to some low cloud into the weekend. It looks a largely dry story. High pressure is in charge. There might be just low cloud hanging on to many of those western mountains. Some breaks possible, and it might be that some high tops do just poke through between cloud layers at some point. So not a complete write-off, but I think if you're on the western coast of Scotland particularly, you might just find it's a rather cloudy and foggy picture. Highest cloud breaks then again towards the Cairngorms with the wind from the south to southwest, but mostly light winds across all areas. Sunday looks fairly similar, tricky then with what's happening with this front coming in from the Atlantic as the weekend goes on. It may be a very weak feature and doesn't do anything, but it just gives a bit of a fly in the ointment towards Monday if that just drifts in and gives some areas of showers developing perhaps. But I think overall, for Sunday at least, high pressure is still nearby. It might be again that south-southwesterly pulls murky conditions onto western mountains, but it's broadly dry, temperatures are relatively mild, and again the highest cloud bases towards the northern Cairngorms and probably the north and northwest Highlands. Now into next week, and overall it looks a fairly optimistic picture with high pressure nearby. A lot will hinge exactly where that high centres itself. Some of the models have it building a bit more towards the east, others keep it just draped in across most of the country. There's a risk though of just something breaking from the west as low pressure over the Atlantic still tries to nudge in as the week goes on, and if the high just weakens we might just find some deterioration trying to develop for a few days at least. But I think overall it's a drier and probably milder theme than what we've seen in recent times, as we're never too far away from higher pressure, but just I wouldn't completely guarantee a fully settled week just at this stage. So we'll see how things go. Not looking too bad into this May Day weekend, but it could be a bit better because I think those western mountains will be plagued by low cloud and fog a fair amount of the time. Keep right up to date then with your very latest local information, updated every single day on the Mountain Weather website. Thanks for watching this video today. Bye for now.